Hey everyone, and in this video today we're going to be talking about IRA and Roth IRA accounts. And so we're going to start this off using what we now know about compounding interest to preface why it's important to have this discussion right now. So let's just say that we're going to take $6,000 of the money that we've earned and we're going to put it into the S&P 500. The average inflation adjusted return rate is 8%. So this means after interest or after inflation, the real return is 8%. In per year, it's actually about 10 to 11%. But of course, the Fed targets 2% interest or inflation every single year. But let's just even be more conservative and say 7% compounding interest. What does that look like using compound interest? Well, the future value of $6,000 put into the market is 6,000 times 1 plus 0.07 to the n power. And let's just say we're going to set n for 50. So we're going to say 50 years. And if we let that n equal 50, then we're going to get 6,000 times 1.07 raised to the 50th power, which equals $176,742.15. So let's say that we're going to use n equals 45 instead. So 6,000 times 1.07 to the 45th power is $126,014.71. So we already knew that compounding interest does a lot. In the long term, it gives huge benefits. However, when we're looking out and towards the limit, just a difference of 5 years between when you invested those $6,000 makes a difference of over $50,000. And we can graph that right here. So if you look, we're going to set the starting point equal both to 0. Uh, or we're going to set the one starting point equal to 0, one starting point equal to 5. So all that the blue line is the red line that is shifted over by 5 years. And you can see when we hit year 50, it is a huge difference. Exponentially, the red line starts to grow quicker than the blue line, and that gap between the red and the blue line just continues to widen out until we get to that $50,000 threshold. And so now, why did I choose these numbers? They seem pretty random. Well, $6,000 is the maximum annual contribution that you and I can make into an IRA or Roth IRA account. Now, I'm going to explain what those mean later on. But so that means by contributing just $6,000 today into the S&P 500 in an S&P 500 ETF, you could increase your retirement savings by $170,000 when you're 70 years old, assuming that you are 20. Of course, not super precise here with the ages, but we're talking about $6,000 giving you $170,000 when you are retired. However, if you waited until you're 25 and have a job, you would lose $50,000. And if you wait until you're 30, you would lose nearly $100,000 of your retirement by waiting to start retiring until you're 30. And this green line shows that shift. The green line just moves the same graph over by 5 years again. So what does this really mean? You need to start saving ASAP because you can get away with putting a lot less aside to return a lot more in the future. So with just a couple more numbers to play with, if you just put aside 500 bucks, and I know I spend over $500 a year on alcohol alone. So if I were to take that money and put it into an IRA account, and just invest it into the S&P 500, that would give me $15,000 for retirement. So that would be nearly an entire year's worth of retirement if I just put aside the alcohol money into an IRA account. If I put $1,000, if I, drive for Shipt and Uber in my spare time, take those $1,000, that is $29,000 towards my retirement account. And the easiest way to do this is by opening an IRA or Roth IRA account. Because notice here that I never took into tax considerations. And the reason for it is because Roth IRAs and IRA accounts both shelter you from taxation. So, What is a traditional IRA account? What you do is you contribute pre or post tax dollars into this IRA account, and then any contributions are first tax deductible, and then your money grows in the account tax deferred. So that means that you would only pay taxes on your IRA earnings once you start taking out your your account after you get to age 60. So basically, if you put in $1,000 today, every single year you should be taxed at the capital gains tax percent. So if you put in $1,000 and it gains 10%, you've made $100, but the capital gains tax rate is going to be like 10%. So you would have to pay $10 out of that $100, and then it would just compound every single year. However, in an IRA account, you don't have to pay that capital gains tax. The only time you get taxed is when you withdraw your money after you've hit age 60. And you can contribute up to $6,000 per year, and anyone with earned income can contribute. So pretty flexible requirements. Roth IRAs are a little bit more specific and particular. You contribute strictly after tax dollars, and then your contributions are given tax benefits later on. More on that if you're interested in this. But your money will grow in the Roth IRA account completely tax free. And so you're allowed to make contributions up to $6,000 per year, uh, if but it does go to zero once your income is over a certain threshold. And so if you're filing individually, you can make up to $140,000 and contribute into your Roth IRA account. So the big difference between these two when you're trying to compare them is when you're taxed. Roth IRAs are really designed for people that don't have a lot of income right now, but plan on eventually making a lot of income and being taxed at a high income rate in the future. So the whole idea here is like, for those of you right now that are, thinking of like a Wall Street job or something like that, or, going into banking, something, you're going to be making, six figures, in 15, 20 years from now. You don't want to be paying capital gains taxes and income taxes at that tax rate on your retirement savings. So if you contribute now into a Roth IRA account, you can pay the tax rate on those $6,000 that you're contributing at your current tax rate, which should be substantially lower. Then, when you take your money out, it's completely tax free. No capital gains taxes, no income taxes. So, really, we're talking about a huge way to not only avoid taxes, but to really make sure that you're financially set in the future at the lowest minimum cost possible. But, there are some limits with these accounts on what you can do, specifically with the trades. So, for example, with day trading, if you want to day trade, there are a lot of restrictions. For example, you have to have $25,000 in your account, and there's going to be pretty steep penalties if you day trade. So that means you're making multiple trades on the same asset in a single day. Uh, so but the big thing with day trading is that if you're really trying to use these for retirement savings, day trading is really risky because you don't use long run return predictions from the economy. So, for example, the S&P 500, pretty big volatility day to day, but over time you get to about that 10% annual bound. And so we're not just saying that day trading could be fun, but it's not really the intention of the IRA, and it is very risky if you don't know how to do it. So this isn't a big deal. Additionally, you can't trade on margin. Again, there are some exceptions to this rule, but you usually can't trade on margin. But what I'm trying to say here is that for many of you have already talked to me about you want to get, you've mentioned that you are interested in trading and making your money grow for you. This is the way to do it. You can trade stocks, you can trade bonds, you can trade funds, you can trade options, all in an IRA and a Roth IRA account. And you can do it while avoiding certain taxes and setting yourselves up for retirement in the future. And to me, that sounds like a win-win-win strategy. And if you need any recommendations or help with, considering the pros and cons of these, please let me know. I'm certainly not a financial advisor. I just wanted to let you know because, I was an econ and finance major, and I found out about these until it was way beyond what I should have. So I just wanted to make sure you were aware that these were investment options for you that are available.